2017, or 18, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, 18, I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
founded the endometriosis support group in Vancouver, which is a
Yeah.
part of Endometriosis Network in Canada. And it was a support group that you organized, and I attended a few of those events. It was very eye-opening for me because I had never met someone whose daily life was compromised because of endometriosis. And I mean, I knew my story, and it was really weird to come sit in a room and watch people of different ages and different, like, origins. Like, we were all from different countries. We were all at a different level in our life. We all were doing like practicing different professions that required like different levels of physical exhaustion, etc. So when I sat there and when we all shared our stories, I just kept hearing my own story in every single person, one after another.
And you know why? That's why group therapy is so powerful. It's so powerful. It's moving, and we see ourselves in other people, and that's why I love that kind of work.
It was
Yeah.
just so overwhelming. Like, I don't know how you managed to like organize it. And I think you were probably the only person who knew what was coming. Like, I just went there going, oh, I'm just like going to meet a bunch of people who are going through what I am. And
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was in Vancouver by myself. I lived by myself. My family was all in Toronto still. And so I was also looking for support for myself. And I was working in the hospital. I was working in general medicine, and I had the opportunity. I thought to myself, well, there's such a lack of understanding, even like working in healthcare, about endometriosis. As common as it is, there's a lack of awareness and understanding about it. And so I thought it makes sense for me to reach out to fellow Endosisters and, start something. I had the time. Like I said, I was single. I was by myself. I thought it would be a nice way to meet other people who could maybe experience what I've experienced and just sort of help each other out. So that's what I did. And with Facebook and social media these days, it's so easy to create a page and create a thing. And so I contacted Endometriosis Canada, the network, and I proposed the idea of actually starting a support group. And so there was a little bit of organization and all of that, but that's what I love to do. I'm a social worker, right? So I love to develop, build capacity and create groups and do group therapy and all of that. So it came naturally to me. And so I did find some really great volunteers. So Janine Johnston, for example, she was instrumental. She was very helpful. She was great at always developing some of those flyers and things like that. And you helped me as well a few times with the potlucks and things that we arrange. So it's a group effort, and it's nice when it's a communal effort that everyone brings their ideas and their that's what makes a great community. So it was really nice, and so nice that we're still connecting, even though
yeah.
I've moved again back across the country, that we can still take this time to speak with one another. And you just asked me yesterday if we wanted to talk, and I thought, well, for an endo sister, definitely, of course.
Thank you. That's so sweet of you.
Of
I know you're
course.
a really busy person, but you took time out.
Oh,
And
of course.
the
Yeah.
reason why I want people to hear your story is because of 100 reasons, but some of them are that you have an incredible CV that leaves out a very important thing, which is that you are living with two very uh, debilitating diseases that affect your daily functioning. So it's not like other diseases that don't remind you continuously, but one of them is your like eye defect. I don't know the technical term, sorry.
It's aniridia, so it's a congenital birth defect. And actually, for most of my life, I thought I had what's called iris coloboma. But when I was in Vancouver, I went to an ophthalmologist, and he had actually diagnosed me with the correct term, which is called aniridia. So it's
Mhm.
Anardia. And basically what that is in both eyes, I was born without an iris, like it's half of an iris in both eyes. So I'm actually not able to filter light into the eye. So, and it protects the eye. It helps us to be able to see letters and see images
Yeah.
clearly.
Yeah.
But for me, everything looks like a Monet painting. So everything is kind of like a blur. And so it makes it hard though when you're trying to read certain materials, and especially if there's glare on the screen, or especially in a hospital, you can imagine with all the glare and all the lights and all of that. It used to give me pressure headaches actually, because there's so much of that going into your vision, and it's overstimulating, and it really affected how I slept, how headaches, and already I had a lot of pain with endometriosis. So you can imagine it was very difficult.
Yeah. So not
Yeah,
only was that first disorder a big issue, you were living with endometriosis for
yeah,
30 years. So,
yeah. Because just after, I think it was actually, it was probably less than that. It was probably like 29 years, but 30 years, let's say, because
yeah.
I was 11 years old when I got my period. And so I didn't know what it was. And growing up in a South Asian family, we never really talked about sex. We never talked about periods. I don't know. I just didn't know what it was. All I remember was that when I was young, all the aunties in my community used to come over and give me like puri and chana and halwa and all this food, and give me money every year. And I was like, why are you doing this? But I don't know, all the aunties did it, and then they gave me a little prayer and stuff. And then all of a sudden, when I got my period, that stopped. It just stopped. They stopped doing all of this. And then I learned that that's because when girls are young, they treat them like babies, meaning like, little queens and little princesses. And when you get your period, there's something that's culturally there, that you're impure all of a sudden, and you're all of a sudden not deserving of those things.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of hurtful on a like social level, right? That all of a sudden you were something and now like you're
Yeah.
nothing. What is that? And I go, but people like in different cultures, they celebrate, when a girl turns 16 years old, or when you become a woman. There's prom, there's celebrating youth for someone, that they're now growing up. But I found it was sort of the opposite experience. Yeah.
And because of, I think that this is like one of the reasons it's all like one of the reasons why people actually don't even talk about this. Like there's so much
Yeah.
stigma around periods itself, but
Yeah.
people can't even say the word to begin with. That
Yeah.
like it's a dream for people to be familiar with endometriosis at this point.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
it's it's not just India, it's all over the world that people
Oh
are
yeah.
barely
Oh yeah.
aware of it.